All right, we'll convene this meeting of the Air Pollution Control Hearing Board and would ask that the roll call be made so we can determine if we have a quorum.
Chair Schweber,
Present?
Yvonne Downs is absent. Martin Brittmeyer,
Present.
Anthony Dimple,
Present.
Teresa Sticks,
Present.
Chaitanya Kora.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Next will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Right, next on the agenda is the ethics law announcement.
Good evening, Herb Kaplan for the record. I'll read our ethics law announcement into the record at this time. Members are reminded that if, with respect to any matter or any person coming before the board today, you have received a gift or loan, if you have a pecuniary interest or commitment in a private capacity, such as a family member, employment, business, or similar relationship, you must disclose that gift, loan, interest, or commitment at the time the matter is being considered, and you must abstain from deliberation or voting on the matter if it's clear from the gift, loan, interest, or commitment that it will materially affect the independence of judgment of a reasonable person. Board members are also reminded that if you had any contact outside this meeting with any persons interested in a matter coming before the board today, you must disclose the nature of that contact at this meeting before the item is heard.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures that need to be made by board members?
Yeah, this is Anthony Dimple. The company I work for has business dealing with some of the contractors who are on this job, but it's not material. I just want to disclose it, but I don't need to recuse myself.
Thank you. All right, is there any public comment? All right, thank you very much. Then the next item on the agenda is the approval of our draft agenda. Approval of the draft agenda? Yes, that would be for the board action. We all had the agenda in the packet.
This is Teresa Sticks. I will move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Right, the agenda is approved. The next item is the approval of the draft minutes that were included in the packet for review. Does anybody have any comments, revisions, changes that they would like to propose? Hearing none, I'd be open to a motion.
This is Teresa Sticks. I'll move that we approve the minutes for the June 3rd, 2025 meeting.
Any seconds?
This is Chaitanya Kora. I second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. The next item is the recommendation of the staff to uphold notice of violation number AQMV 26-0001 issued to JC Golden Mesa LLC for failure to control fugitive dust, and a recommendation of an administrative penalty of $1,000. We will go ahead and hear from staff. I would just note for the record that there does not appear to be the appellant have anybody present at this moment. Perhaps they'll come in afterwards, but we will continue with the hearing. So, Mr. Ristori, it's your time.
right, good evening, Chairman Schweber, members of the board. For the record,
Mr. Ristori, could you please use the microphone?
again, good evening, Chairman Schweber, members of the board. Okay, here we go. For the record, Josh Ristori, Supervisor of Permitting and Compliance for the Air Quality Management Division of Northern Nevada Public Health. Before you today, we are going to present case number 1604. And we've provided a presentation for you today to demonstrate the violation and the reason for the violation to be upheld by the Air Pollution Control Hearing Board. So again, this is for case number 1604, notice of violation AQMV 26-0001 for JC Golden Mesa LLC. The topics of discussion will be Northern Nevada Public Health's regulatory authority in this case, the requirements of 040030 dust control as they pertain to this notice of violation, events associated with the case, and also the notice of violation itself. So our regulatory authority, Northern Nevada Public Health Air Quality Management Division enacted dust control regulations in the early 90s to come into attainment with the PM10 standard. At that time, we were not in attainment, and so we came up with regulations, including the dust control regulation 040030 to comply with that standard. That regulation did become part of our state implementation plan to get us back into attainment with that PM10 standard. As of this date, we are in compliance with that PM10 standard. However, we are what they call in a maintenance plan, meaning we need to continue our efforts to enforce these rules to stay in compliance with that standard. The standards for dust control 040030 do apply to all construction-related activities in Washoe County, as they will apply to this dust control permit. And so the purpose and applicability of 040030 is to limit particulate material emissions into the ambient air. As you have probably seen before on a construction site, if you are not maintaining proper dust control before, during, and after activities, you can have significant amounts of fugitive dust entering the ambient air and being entrained into the air for a significant period of time. The dust control rule also applies to all public and private construction. So if you are a construction site and you are going to disturb an acre or more of ground, and that could be anything from building a private residence to multifamily unit, then you're required to get a dust control permit and comply with the requirements in that dust control permit. And disturbance includes any activity which disturbs topsoil. So that would be mass grading, final grading, parking lots, staging areas, anything that has the capacity to disturb that topsoil and essentially create fugitive dust. And so as far as the standards found within 040030, all disturbed surfaces must be covered by a dust control permit, or that are covered by a dust control permit must be controlled for fugitive dust 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even if you're not actively working on a site, you need to maintain some form of dust control for the area that you've disturbed. In some cases, it's maintaining a visible crust. And that's probably the most common use or the most common type or control strategy to maintain control of disturbed areas if they're not actively being used, is applying water and creating a crust if the soil will allow you to do so. There are some soils out there that have organic matter in them and they won't allow you to build that solid crust. So if the wind blows, it knocks down that the velocity of the wind to not entrain particulate into the air. But again, the most common control is applying water and maintaining a crust. And again, that has to be done before, during, and after. So at the end of the day, when construction activity has been completed, applying water to the site is most commonly used to build that crust in case winds come up overnight or in the morning or unexpectedly. And as far as how we determine whether or not the crust that you've established or another control measure that you may want to employ is working, we have a standard of visible fugitive emissions of 5 minutes or more in any 1 hour period using EPA method 22, where we have staff go out, they look at a site. If that site is continually producing dust from wind, it could even be from equipment operating with no wind conditions at all, and they observe 5 minutes of dust within any 1 hour period, that is technically a violation of our regulations. And so, as far as the events associated with case 1604 for JC Golden Mesa, from June 2025 through December 2025, the Air Quality Management Division received approximately 15 complaints from surrounding residents about fugitive dust from the Golden Mesa North project. Now, the board's been presented with a packet prior to this meeting. Hopefully, you're able to see the location of this project is in Golden Valley, and it's approximately 70 acres in size, 70 acres cleared and grubbed, going through mass grade for development of a residential development. What we were experiencing during those periods is when the winds would come up very heavily, the neighbors were being impacted. They would send us videos, obviously filing complaints. When we go out to do an investigation, we have to document that dust ourselves. We can't use videos that are provided to us. We need our staff to document it themselves. Unfortunately, when we would go to respond to those complaints, sometimes those complaints were coming after hours. Sometimes they were coming during the weekends when we didn't have staff, assigned to work. So we would go out, do an investigation, not really find much as far as any violations. And so we really couldn't move forward with a particular violation. However, we saw the seriousness of the videos that they were submitting and the number of complaints that were coming. So on October 31st, 2025, AQMD sent an email to the appellant in response to a complaint response investigation at Golden Mesa North, and it revealed that soils were dry, loose, and failing to meet the dust control permit requirement 4, which states that the owner and or operator of an open area and vacant lot or any disturbed surface area on which no activity is occurring shall meet at least one of the standards in 040030C2C. Again, getting back to that crust, people can use a dust palliative if they'd like on an area that's not really being used or active. You can apply crushed rock. That would be a lot of crushed rock on 70 acres. There are forms to suppress dust when there's no activity on the ground. And also we were noticing that some of the open storage piles were dry, loose, and failing to meet the dust control permit requirement number 5, which is very similar to 4, which states that all open storage piles shall be stabilized and utilizing at least one of the standards described in 040030C2D. And again, the primary use or the primary control for stockpiles is applying a crust. And so on November 3rd, the Air Quality Management Division, we realized that there were some heavy winds coming up. And we sent a courtesy email to the appellant because we can see it in the forecast. In some cases, when we see heavy winds coming up and maybe we've been through a very dry period of time, we'll send out a wind notice to all construction sites, letting them know this might be a good time for you to assess your site, get out, maybe look at all areas, make sure that it is stabilized. Because as the winds come up, that's a little too late to be doing work, especially with some of the high winds that we can get here. So we sent them an email as a courtesy saying, hey, there's a change in the forecast for the week of November 3rd through the 5th, and prepare the project because of the dust videos that we've seen coming from the neighbors. And so what I want the board to see is some of the images, and this video is 2 minutes long, but some of the images that were sent to us from the complainant. Can you see that'll, if I push it forward, will it play? Here we go. And so what you're looking at is dust coming from that 70-acre disturbed project. And then this is also from the east side of the project. There's a road that goes north and south along the east side, and it's that same project there off to your, well, would be off to my left, but on the west side of the road, generating that amount of fugitive dust, blowing directly into those residences. And then this is another property on the east side of the project. But as you can see, contrary to what the appellant filed in their appeal, as there's dust coming from areas that are not associated with their project, those videos from the complainants clearly show dust generating from that 70-acre project. So on November 7th, the AQMD issued a warning letter to JC Golden Mesa. We took it to another level. As opposed to providing advisories and emailing them that we've received complaints, we sent them a warning letter. Those warning letters are sent certified, so we know that they do receive them, and that is also part of the packet that was presented prior to this meeting. And that was based on the October 30th investigations and November 5th, the complaints that we received there. And on December 19th, 2025, the AQMD knew that heavy winds were forecast once again. And so we had staff go out and inspect the project during a wind event. And during this time, we did observe significant fugitive dust blowing from the site. And again, this is after multiple communications with the contractor, a warning letter being issued, and quite frankly, the AQMD did not feel as though the contractor was taking us seriously. And so we observed significant fugitive dust blowing from the blowing northeast from Gold Mesa, so from the southwest corner northeast, similar to the videos that you just saw. We had staff out there perform an EPA Method 22. They performed it for about a total of 6 minutes, in all of which continuous fugitive dust. And we'll take a look at some images and videos to demonstrate that. And so to give you an idea, some of the homes where the videos were being taken, such as the one with the horse in it, was this property here. This is the road where some of the complainants were taking their videos. So we took similar videos. This is where our staff took videos and images. But this is the direction of the wind during our visit on the 19th of December. And here's a few images, screenshots essentially, of what you're going to see in some of the videos and what was also provided to you in your supporting documentation of the staff report. And this is our video documentation from our staff being out there on the 19th. And this is taken from the more of the southwest corner of the site looking northeast. And this video is taken from that road that I pointed out on the map that goes north and south along the east side of the project. And so as far as notice of violation number AQMV 26-0001, the violation on December 19th, 2025, did the appellant comply with requirement 1 of dust control permit APCP 25-0143, which states the owner and or operator of a source engaging in a dust generating activity shall not allow visible fugitive dust emissions for a period or periods accumulating more than 5 minutes in any 1 hour. They did not comply with that requirement. Is this a violation of District Board of Health regulations governing air quality management? The answer to that is yes. And so our recommendation, as a result of the project's prior enforcement history, we have a notice of violation AQMV 25-0017 that was issued on September 16th, 2025 for the project not permitting the correct number of acres, and the warning letter issued on November 7th, 2025 regarding fugitive dust coming from their project. The Air Quality Management Division requests the Air Pollution Control Hearing Board deny the appeal of notice of violation AQMV 26, 0001, and uphold the violation and associated administrative penalty of $1,000. I will say that if this penalty is upheld, the next, if there are future penalties or violations at this site, they will be at $10,000 per violation per day, as per 020 of District Board of Health regulations. And with that, I will take any questions that you may have.
Since December 19th infraction, has there been any other calls to the site?
There have not.
Has there been communication between you guys and the contractor?
There has been. We sent them a violation.
Yeah.
They know and they're aware that they're receiving a violation, and which I think is why they are appealing. So there's been communication in that fact. Do we do routine inspections there? Yes. Yeah.
So
Right.
they're well aware of their being watched and
Right. Yes.
breaking their permit.
Yes. Yes. We still have concerns. We don't feel that their reactivity to high winds and as opposed to preparation for high winds is enough, or they've shown enough. We'd like to see them apply maybe a dust palliative to the site, especially those areas that are not actively being worked, so that they're not having to manage 70 acres every time there's a wind event. That could be another suggestion from the board, from this board, is to have them apply a dust palliative. But yeah, we conduct inspections out there because like I said, if we see the same violations occur, we're going to issue more violations.
Between January to now, in your routine inspections, have you observed the fugitive dust still blowing up in that area?
Not to my knowledge, no. No, nothing that would constitute a violation.
The amount of this fine, going back to your statement about the $10,000 next time, and the amount of, if it's upheld, that's what triggers the next big one. It doesn't matter what dollar amount this one is. It's just the fact that it's upheld will trigger the 10,000.
Correct. Yeah, the regulation says essentially that any third violation of this section of regulation will constitute a $10,000 per violation per day. It's really to try to provide some what's the word I'm looking for? Try to have them do something about the problem as opposed to continue to pay.
It's got to hurt a little bit.
Right. Well, or make business decisions as to,
I get it.
yeah.
It's got to escalate to some point.
yes.
This is Tracy Sticks. Do you have any idea of when they're actually going to start doing construction, or?
That was a question that we have been asking them. Obviously, they're doing some form of construction with the mass grade, but as far as paving out roads, curbs and gutters, to get to moving vertical with homes, they said that they're actively working, but it really does not appear that way when you go out to the site. My estimate would be it's really based on demand, market demand. So they haven't given us a definitive.
When you talk about dust palliative, what's the approximate cost of dust palliative? Like a per acre?
I really couldn't speak to that, Chair Schweber. What I can say is that they will vary depending on what you choose. There's some palliatives that are more of like an emulsion based, where it's like recycled newspaper and some seed associated with it, and you can apply that as almost a mat over the top of soil to again reduce that frictional velocity of the wind, so you don't get saltation of sand or small particles of dirt. There's also tackifiers that almost work as like a glue, where you can't actually visually see them after they've dried, but they will create a top layer that's can be multiple inches thick. Once you disturb that, you have to reapply, as well as the emulsion style palliative. But I couldn't really give you an estimate.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Josh. We appreciate it, as always. All right, the appellant is not here and has not called in. And so I would just, for the record, want to make the comment that, as was pointed out to me by my colleague, that this hearing was postponed at the request of the appellant once so that they could attend. Reminders go out, certified mail goes out, and so they've made the decision not to show up, not to provide any information. And with that, I would close the hearing and open it up for board discussion and action.
This is Teresa Sticks. From my perspective, the law is clear on what they're required to do. And it was also clear before I even asked the question that no construction had occurred between the information that we saw from October through the investigation in December. It was also clear that this is a huge piece of property that they're trying to build out at the same time, and that there was alternatives, steps that could have been taken to do it in phases to reduce the impact and the dust particulate matter going into the air. It's also clear to me that we live in Nevada, and it's very windy in this state, and dust control and mitigation is not new. So I'm inclined to approve the recommendation of the fine of $1,000 and also require that they do some, apply some dust palliative.
I would agree with that. I'm not sure, can we require that they put down a dust palliative or just recommend? Yeah.
I think we recommend, I don't know that we're a board that can require anybody to do anything, can we? I would be comfortable with the recommending. I'd personally not comfortable with requiring it because there's other implications and it's kind of ambiguous as to what that means. That's just my opinion on it. So I don't feel comfortable with that, but I'm good with recommending it.
Well, my question is there not, if a site gets left, so say construction stops, they have to close that site up and sweep it and protect it and everything else? So wouldn't this kind of fall into that? I know it's kind of a little bit weird realm because they're still say they active, but if there hasn't been a vehicle on the ground in so long, wouldn't that kind of fall into that? It's a dormant site and it has to be sealed.
Again, Josh Ristori, Supervisor of Permitting Compliance for the record. To answer your question, there are some requirements that I do know of with SWIP where they are required to stabilize after a certain period of time of inactivity. The specifics of that I can't speak to. I do know that this is kind of on the board, that this property is kind of on the border too of an area that may not impact waters of the United States because it may drain to the Swan Lake area. So it may not be subject to SWIP requirements. But again, you'd have to look at a map and maybe talk to Washoe County or the city of Reno's SWIP program to understand that. But their regulations are much stronger as far as stabilization is required when a SWIP permit is required for a construction site. As far as our regulations are concerned, it's dust mitigation. And by by whatever means you need to mitigate the dust to stay in compliance with the requirements of your dust control permit or 040030 is what is required. And clearly with this, this violation in this case, they were not meeting those minimum standards.
I do, this is Chaitanya Kora, but I do agree with the $1,000 motion. What is more concerning is it appears this fugitive dust or dust particulate blow up is around Q3 between September to, or Q4, September to December. And from what I'm understanding from January to now, in your observations, there hasn't been any complaints or blowing up of this wind. But if this area is left alone without any development or construction proceedings, the neighboring properties might be at the same risk of going through the same hassle in Q3, Q4 of 2026 and onwards. So it is ideal for the opponent to get informed or get recommended to control or mitigate this dust for the sake of the future. And I do approve or align with the board on this $1,000 motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to uphold the violation, uphold the $1,000 fine, and recommend that they look at other forms of dust abatement, dust palliative, I believe is the term that was used.
Just to clarify, who made the initial motion? Was it you, Therese? Sorry.
Yes, I will rephrase my original comment into a motion that we approve the recommendation of staff for $1,000 fine and recommend that the appellant do some dust palliative care on their property to mitigate.
I second that. This is Chaitanya Kora.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. The next item, is there any other comment from board members on any subject? Hearing none, we will open it for any public comment before we adjourn the meeting.
No public comment.
All right, with no public comment, I would welcome a motion for adjournment.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, Herb.
Thank you, guys. Good job.
See you later.
Yeah.